question is at the station how you spell and pronounce your names. We'd love that.
Yes, let me turn my tape recorder on.
Yeah.
Do all that business.
You start, Jenny.
Left to okay. Are you going right?
Hold tight.
Veer left. Okay.
Okay. My name is Jenny Nesvitailova. That's first name Jenny, last name Nesvetailova, and I'm the current urban music director here at WRAS.
And pronounce that again. Your last name for us.
Nesvitailova. Nesvitailova.
Nesvitailova.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I'm Josh Martin. I am the outgoing program director and current office assistant for WRAS. And my name is spelled Joshmartin.
My name is Anna Zimitravich. I am the outgoing general manager and the current RPM music director. That's ANAZIMITRAVICH.
My name is Elena Fabricius, and I'm the current general manager of WRAS. That's ALAYNAFABRICIUS.
Do you guys want to just sort of make a statement about generally how the meeting went first and all the questions afterward?
Well, it was promising. We are glad that we finally were able to open a dialogue. We feel as if we have been included in this. We feel that there is an effort to make this more of a partnership and less of a takeover. We started the meeting by presenting our strategic plan for the next 10 years, what we hope for WRAS to be in the coming years, and how we think that this could be a greater asset to the university than the current partnership. And although the administration mentioned that the contract is already done and has been signed, they are taking our concerns into consideration, and we are hopeful.
Yes, we appreciate the meeting with President Becker and really appreciate the SGA for setting it up. He was very receptive of what we had to say in terms of listening and engaging in the conversation, and they're exploring their options for how we could work together as partners, as we have been for the past 43 years, moving forward.
The future is still uncertain, but we do feel more optimistic about the future. And again, I am grateful that they gave us the professional courtesy and respect that we have established over the past 43 years and met with us to open up this dialogue.
What did they say, or what happened specifically that make you more optimistic?
Well, they clarified some things about the contract, for one. Our concern has been about the shared time arrangement and the renewal agreement specifically. The shared time arrangement allows for negotiations to begin within the first 12 months between GPB and GSU to have a shared license with us. They told us that they have no intention of negotiating a shared license with GPB, so we're very relieved about that. Can you clarify the renewal?
Yeah, so the contract, since it's an intergovernmental contract agreement, they do it for 50-year terms, so that's why it will run until 2064. And they are allowed to, the automatic renewal is in there because of the 50-year term. And at any point, they made clear that the point of determination part of the contract is that they can cancel it at any time within giving them a year to go forward with the contract. So it is, though it does automatically renew, they made clear that that's the point of determination clause being in there is because it can be ended as well. It also seemed clear that President Becker understands the value of WRAS Album 88 as a station and where we've come and where we're going. So we were really, it was positive in terms of that as well.
He assured us that this partnership was not about money. He said that he has no intention of selling the license, that would be a deal made for money. He said he sees value in WRAS RAS, and that the partnership was made specifically for the TV exposure on GPB between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. as an outlet for student programming and for Georgia State University content to be aired on public TV. So that was the motivation behind this partnership, what he clarified.
Yeah, and he also ended the meeting with saying that we would be in contact again, so it was a nice note to end it, knowing that we would continue communicating and see if we can find some sort of solution.
As far as the content on the TV, did he give any idea of what he wanted that to be, or do you guys have input in that?
He said that they had, was it stock content? Like content stockpiled?
There is GSU content that's already been made, but yeah, so they have that, and then he basically outlined it as it would open up opportunities for students in the film department, in the communications department, to work on making programming.
But mostly it sounded like they had content already made that they wanted to air.
Who made it?
I think the university.
Yeah.
So, university relations or students made it?
We aren't sure of that. But he did emphasize the fact that most of the programming down the road would come from students, be made by students. But as a radio station, we're not.
It really has nothing to do with us.
Yeah, so why does that make you optimistic? What do you care?
That's not what makes us optimistic.
What makes us optimistic is that he listened to us, and
Sure.
They're looking into a solution.
Yeah, it seemed like they wanted to talk to us again, and it's clear that they do care about the station, but they were unclear about how this was going to affect us. So now we were able to voice that, and hopefully they will take that into consideration in the future. That they'll continue to work with us to try to make RAS a partner and not just a bargaining chip.
Did they specify intent to go on with the original takeover date?
They did. They said that it has already been signed. They clarified that the termination clause, the 30-day with written approval, would be for breach of contract, and they did say that they were going to look into options so that it wouldn't affect our relationships and our influence.
Options meaning changes to the contract?
We're hoping. We're hoping less programming on air, but it's still very uncertain. We didn't get too into it.
But these are things that you are under the impression as of right now will be discussed further before the takeover date?
We've opened up a dialogue.
Okay.
Yeah. We're definitely coming out of this hopeful that there's going to be a change to the contract in the future.
Do you have a next date follow-up with him for another meeting?
I think he mentioned that maybe next week we'd maybe hear from somebody. But...
Yeah, we're going to be in constant, thanks to the SGA as well, we're going to be in constant communication with them. And the SGA has made clear that we have their support and that they are going to follow up with them as well. So we definitely will be keeping in contact and keeping everyone up to date as we learn things as well. So.
Our main goal is still going to be to have our programming remain the way it is now. That's the plan that we went into this with. That's what we presented. So we're not going to give up on that.
Did you express that to the group?
Yes.
And what was their response?
Well, what we talked about in the plan was to instead of them going through with this partnership and spending time on that, but more so spending time supporting RAS and funding RAS as a means for exposure for the university, something similar to KEXP. We think that we could reach that height of influence.
For those who don't know, can you explain what that situation is?
KEXP is a radio station based in Seattle, Washington. Their license is owned by the University of Washington. It's not as student-run as it used to be, but they have a national and even international profile in terms of influence and their reach. So we in our plan, as you'll see, we've modeled ourselves to become that influential with the increased support of the university.
It's key that we remain student-run. We don't want to become a nonprofit business and hire out people, but we want to stay student-run It's just something that we're modeling after that we think would be of benefit to the university. And we think we could reach that with more support and funding from them. They did talk to us about fundraising, whether we would want to do something like that. I'm not sure how that plays into anything, so we're hopeful that they are taking us seriously. Because
They just asked if you were willing to do fundraising?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. It was more so like we were talking about our plan and kind of brought up the budget of KEXP, and we've never really looked into the legal options of our fundraising, even though we could be fundraising. And so that was just something that was discussed. It shouldn't be taken as an indication that this was about money or anything like that.
Oh,
Understood.
Yeah.
right.
Can you
Basically
tell
just
us
to
more
increase
about the
our-
10-year plan that you took to him?
Yeah, so we have a plan that just basically goes over our history a little bit, where we've come from, where we've been working at getting for the past year and a few years before, and then where we see ourselves headed with the increased and continued support of the university. We want to focus more on initiatives that we started last year with renewing relationships with different people in Atlanta and different organizations in Atlanta, while also at the same time increasing our educational and research-based programming. And then in terms of creating a national profile for the station that would also benefit the university, that's kind of where we get the model from KEXP, because we see that as potentially getting that big of a national profile if we have the university's support. So
And it's more
No.
specific in the plan.
The national profile, how would that be accumulated? Is that through this online streaming, or would it be other ways?
Well, I mean, outlined in the plan, there are different projects that we've been working on in the past year that we're hoping would grow over the next 10 years to help us reach the height of influence that KEXP has. One of those is our partnership with NDATL to start WRAS sessions, which are like an Austin city limits type thing. We wanted to do more things like that to build online exposure. We wanted to work on multiple streams, not just one stream in place of our analog, but the analog and then multiple streams with different programming for each stream. So like a hip hop stream or a quintessential college show style stream with music from the past few decades. So it's not just limited to new music. These were different initiatives that we wanted to undertake independently, so just us as students running all of these initiatives, and we think with the funding and the support of the university, it would be a really great experience for the student body, and it would be great exposure for the university, and I think this would be more beneficial to them in the years to come than the GPB partnership. So that's what we presented.
Does that imply that they would be funding the multiple streams?
Well, that's kind of where the fundraising
That's where
part
the
came up,
fundraising-
because we kind of we were talking about the budget of KEXP, and like if we had opportunities to fundraise, then we could use that money to help towards our efforts of becoming a nationally renowned radio station.
He had asked us if we thought about it, and we never knew that it was an option.
But that doesn't change the fact that I mean, we pointed out that according to Pew Research, 92% of people in 2012 listened to radio on a weekly basis, whereas only 29% of people in 2012 listened to online streaming radio on a weekly basis. So it's hard to say that using us receiving the online stream in replacement of the daytime analog programming is any sort of substitute that is equal to what we would be losing. So.
In terms of the, you mentioned that the administration expressed that they saw the value in WRAS, but did they elaborate at all in terms of why, since last September, as these conversations were happening, that students weren't involved in the conversations? And
It seemed like they just didn't understand our potential, and that's kind of what we gave in with our strategic. I think they understood us as professional students. I don't think that they knew that what we had planned,
Or what we do, really.
what we do totally. And so we were able to explain kind of and they were they started the meeting by saying, we want to know why this would have, what the problem with it is, what would affect you, hearing from the college radio DJ point of view. So it was very productive in terms of that sense. But yeah,
Yeah, we were able to give them an overview as to why trading in analog programming is going to affect us negatively, and hopefully they understand now.
Were you surprised that they didn't understand before?
Yes.
Yeah, it
to a
was.
certain extent. I mean, I think that yeah, we were surprised, but at the same time, like they've trusted us with the programming of our station for the past 43 years. So, I mean, I wouldn't expect them to know the day-to-day details of everything that we do.
Yeah, they did ask us who at the station oversees the editorial content, and we said the management, the PD and the general manager, and he was like, oh, he didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, does he not know what y'all's numbers are? I mean, you get, you know, you're on the.
Yeah, I mean, we outlined that we won awards and like that the public outcry from the community basically shows that we are kind of an important piece of GSU. So I think they definitely think they understand it a little more after talking to us.
And that's why they're going to. They heard what we had to say, and now we're opening up a dialogue, and we're sitting at the table with them instead of just sitting in here. So.
President Becker just released his statement. He said we had a highly positive and productive meeting and agreed to work with them to explore options. We are committed to addressing the concerns that have been expressed so we can move forward together to pursue what is best for Georgia State and our community.
And that is I would agree that that's a good summary of the meeting. Would you? Yeah.
Do you guys feel you're fighting for the immediate, or you're fighting for 2 years when this contract auto renews? What is?
We're fighting for the immediate.
We were fighting for the immediate, yeah.
And even if the immediate doesn't happen, we're still going to be fighting just for to keep it student run and to keep our analog signal. We want to make sure that WRAS stays how it is, but also that we go forward with our plans that we had, transitioning through management, that we still keep those with the educational programming and debuting Odyssey and increasing staff. So hopefully we can still be able to accomplish those goals.
Do you guys fighting for the immediate? What are you going to do immediately to accomplish that?
Well, we're in conversations. I mean, that's what the outcome of the meeting is. We're in conversations now that we weren't in before. So the university does value, our station and understands where we come from. I think to a way better extent than before. So I think going forward now that's what we're doing in the immediate is we're at the conversation where we were as we weren't before. So.
Yeah.
Did the folks in the meeting indicate what led them to this new understanding? I mean, was it y'all, was it your strategic plan, or was it the massive outcry?
I think it was clear that the massive outcry was a surprise.
Yeah, and they also said that President Becker thanked us after the presentation that we did a good job, and I think they're impressed with how we presented ourselves and talked to them. So I think the public outcry plus the meeting kind of put it together for them.
What other avenues are open to you to fight this? Kind of following up on his question, specifically, what do you plan to do?
Well, I think right now we're probably just going to wait and see what happens.
We encourage that if you are a member of the public and you want to express how you feel, as long as it's in a respectful manner, we encourage that. But at this point on our end, we're just now at the table allowed to have a part of this conversation, which we weren't a part of before. And so I think that's the best thing for going forward.
Yeah, we're going to continue to try to think up options for how we can amend or terminate the contract and keep things the same so that we can grow organically to meet our goals over the next 10 years.
Can we elaborate for a second? The contract, when you said it got brought up in the meeting, they stood by the point it can't be changed, it's executed, it would be a breach,
Right.
correct? What about the idea of both parties coming to void the contract together? There would be no breach. It would be GPB and GSU changing the contract together.
They didn't mention that, but that is certainly an option.
And we can't speak for GPB,
Sure.
so we don't know what their motivations are, and them as an entity was not really discussed that much during the meeting.
Have you guys reached out to talk to GPB, and are you going to?
I don't know. I don't think we really thought about it that much. More so, the reason that we spoke with the administration is because first and foremost, they're our license holder, and second, lately we've had such a good relationship with them for 4 decades now. We just want to try and continue that and get their support for how we're going to be moving forward strategically. So,
Do y'all have any legal avenues?
not in terms of like being able to take legal action for against the contract, but we do have counsel.
Yeah,
So
we do.
So you've investigated the possibilities and told you don't have you
There's
have
really,
no legal grounds.
there doesn't seem to be many routes to go down to contest against the contract legally. Everything has been conducted legally.
And more so, I mean, since that's the case, we prefer to work with. I mean, there isn't really a legal option, but regardless, I think we prefer to work as we have been with them. And
Yeah, they seem to be receptive.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to work with them.
One of the points that keeps getting made is that y'all are funded, is it entirely by student fees?
Yes.
And that, whose policy, is it university policy or is it Regent's policy that the students decide how the student fee money gets used?
I don't know whose policy that is, but it's definitely a policy of Georgia State University. The Student Activities Fee Committee, they determine how allocation occurs, and because of that, they, I mean, we are fully student activity fee funded, and the students do determine. I don't know if that's a Georgia State regulation or a Regents regulation, though.
But that has no bearing on this? I mean, y'all will just continue to get the money you get and...
Well, I mean, none of it was used for the reimbursement costs for the deal, so it doesn't really have any relation to this deal. I mean, it does bring into question the choice not to involve us in the first place, but other than that, like, it doesn't really have any bearing on the contract.
What kind of leverage do you have to keep GSU at the table with y'all?
I'd say that the support of our listeners and the Atlanta community in general, as well as now the support from the Student Government Association that we've received. So, yeah, I mean,
they seem to be on our side about this.
So that's definitely one thing, and our history. They definitely, the administration definitely understands the value of Alameda as a brand, and what we do, they seem to value us as a brand. So they definitely understand what we are trying to do, I think.
You that was kind of an issue before, and you believe that? Like, you don't think they're just telling you what you want to hear?
Hopefully not.
Well, we were kind of scared of that going into the meeting, but I feel like after going through with it, I don't feel that.
I think
about you guys.
We're gonna make sure that they follow through.
Yeah, and the SGA has made clear that they will follow up as well, but they were very, very respectful and receptive and engaging in the conversations, which is, I mean, we didn't know what our expectations really were going into the meeting, besides that we had been in an adversarial kind of situation thus far, so it was really positive in that sense, like, in terms of we were able to have a conversation and stuff like that, so.
Well, if y'all say the contract signed, sealed, delivered, there are no legal avenues, it would be breach otherwise, but you're still pushing to get it rescinded, isn't somebody going to have to talk with the other party involved with this to make that happen?
Talk with GPB?
Yeah.
That
Well,
would be, yeah, good.
It seems like they've not really made an effort to reach out. We haven't been concerned that because we've been working with the administration, but it feels like GPB has almost rescinded into a corner, almost. They haven't really made much of a presence after this agreement went out, only putting a few things on press releases on Facebook or a few articles, but they haven't really opened up a dialogue with us.
So is that something that you'll be pressing for?
I imagine so.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, I would think
Joe.
that Georgia State and Georgia Public Broadcasting would be the ones who would talk. I mean, we would gladly speak with them and share how we feel with them if they were willing to be receptive to that, but...
The university is closer to home.
Yeah.
I understand that. It's just considering the lack of transparency before, if you're putting this back off for these two organizations to go take care of it themselves, I could understand how that might cause concern
Yeah, the university is handling the reviewing of the options, I think, independently of GPP, from what our impression was.
So you guys, you know, what I'm hearing you say is you don't feel like you should try to go through GPB, you should just stay with the university, since that's your parent, so to speak. Or is that, it might be too soon to declare anything like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have plans to talk to GPB. I'm not sure what kind of leverage we would have other than ruining their drives, you know, ruining their popularity so it affects their drives.
Which a lot of your supporters have suggested.
Right. It's, I mean, the partnership is between the university and GPB, and since we're essentially the university, it seemed more logical to go on the university side to negotiate things. It wouldn't make sense for GPB to do to act in our favor.
Yeah.
They don't owe us anything. I mean, we could talk to them, but it seems more logical to talk to the university first.
Where do you see the station fitting into the big picture? I mean, you know, GSU right after all this happened announced that mixed use thing over at Turner Field. Looks like they're just going to continue to expand outward and get bigger. Did they consider the role of your station in those plans? Where you know where you fit?
I think today's meeting probably gave them some more insight in terms of, we actually gave them a plan that we have been working on how we see the station fitting into that expansion. And I think that they might have not understood that before, but now that they've been presented with the plan of how we would fit in with that, I think that they probably are a lot more knowledgeable in the situation. It was really than they were before.
Who had y'all presented the plan to at all? Or was it just an internal
This was
document?
the first time that it had been presented to anyone was today.
I mean, was it an internal plan already in place, or was this something you devised in response to all this?
It was an internal plan already in place. Some of these were projects that I took on during my term this past year as my own motivation as manager to bring more exposure to RAS and to grow RAS into what I think it deserves to be. And that's a major name in college radio, which it already is, but we have so much potential. And we were able to communicate that today, so hopefully they understand what it is that we do and what we hope to be, and how we could be, how we could help make a name for the university in ways other than Turner Field and the football team.
That's what the 10-year plan could do. That's
Yes.
very well put.
I think that kind of going off the whole football thing is, that's how I think football has become kind of a recruiting for the university for admissions. And our 10-year plan is hopefully that, you know, there are people who come on because they like sports and they like the football team, but we want RAS to be something that can also be used as a recruiting tool that can grow in the future for admissions.
Yeah, for broadcasters, for communications.
It might have already been. It's just quite plausible they didn't know that
Yeah.
till today.
Exactly.
How could
And
they
even
not
if
know
it
that?
was, we wanted to.
Yeah.
I know.
That part is mystery to me. How could they not know that?
Yeah, I mean, we're extremely autonomous, so I mean, they have given us a lot of our own, I mean, we essentially have our own leeway. We run the station completely. They could come in and give us all these programming directives if they wanted to, since they hold the license, but they don't, because they respect that we will run it for them. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't imagine that because of that we're kept at an arm's length, that, you know, that they would know how day-to-day operations work or anything like that. So.
You say they did this because they respect you. Do you think maybe it's just out of sight, out of mind, since they seem not to have known, by the way, y'all tell anything about RAS or its reputation or its history?
I think they understood the reputation and the history. I think we just kind of laid out the fact that we have a plan to continue that more so than anything, and I don't think they knew that before.
Yeah, I think when they made this deal, they saw us as something valuable, and that was more important. It was something that they could trade in exchange for TV exposure on Georgia Public TV, as an outlet for student-produced programming or for content that the university is
Football.
I think that I
for
think
football maybe.
I think that they put too much weight in the fact that the online stream would offer the same experience. But once we were able to clarify to them, that's what they really didn't know about the most is, you know, they knew about the history and they know how the station is, especially, you know, they know how the station is. It's just they didn't really know about, you know, our relationships and things like that.
They really just didn't understand our operations and
Where we could go, that we had planned to go to take the station to another place.
Yeah, and we made sure to explain to them how this new partnership would hurt us
Yeah.
a lot, and I think we really made it clear to them like how and how it occurred.
I think they understand hopefully that this partnership doesn't benefit us directly. It benefits the TV aspect of things. It's a way to get outlet for the university on public TV, and it doesn't benefit RAS, and I think now they understand that. So.
They were under the impression before that it would be a benefit to you.
Yeah, they thought that, because the 30-minute magazine music show, they thought that would be a great add-in to sweeten the deal for us. So like, oh, you get this statewide recognition because you're going to make a 30-minute show. But when we put it into perspective that we're trading 98 hours a week for it, I think they got it, that that's not a positive thing. And we put it into perspective as to how it's going to affect our opportunities here for students to be able to perform their jobs. And I think now they get it, and that's a very positive takeaway from this.
You guys done?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Thanks, guys, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. If you have any other questions, please reach out to me. You guys should have my contact information, but if not, I'm happy to give it to you after the...
Yeah, so are you the RAS media contact now, or what? And I ask you because Andrea Jones from the president's office was unsure as to your role, so you might want to clarify
Yeah,
that.
I've been helping out with this. Helping set up media contacts just because that's, you know, sort of my expertise. But really what we're trying to do is direct it to the RAS staff, and then they're sort of speaking differently than sort of the community efforts that I've been helping represent.
Yeah, he's more. He does more with the community stuff, and any official view or opinion of the station is from our press releases and statements.
So for an official media contact for someone who hasn't reached out to you yet, where do they go?
You can contact me.
Okay.
And I have cards. If you guys need them.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I double check the spelling of y'all's name real quick? I didn't quite
N-E-S.
I know you're
Yeah, Jenny,
J